Hi, I'm Kanishka, the editor of Professional Beauty Hairdressers Journal, and welcome you all to Spotlight by PBI. Joining me today is one of our very special guests from the industry. He is responsible for the iconic looks of Virat Kohli. With me is Jordan Tabakman. Thank you so much for joining me today, Jordan.
Thank you for having me.
You are on PBI Spotlight, and we want to know from you your journey into hairdressing and barbering.
Yep. So my journey started in 2016 when I'd finished school in 2013. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, tried a few different pathways, different careers, felt it wasn't for me, and growing up in a family of hair, my father being a hairdresser and barber, my mum being a hairdresser, and now my sister's a hairdresser, it was just in our blood. So went to school and learned hairdressing school, focused on components of barbering, and then journey just began from there.
Okay, but why barbering over hairdressing?
I never had interest in hairdressing personally. I always loved haircuts myself. So with Dad, having a barbershop at the time, it was something every Saturday I'd go and get a haircut, and I just enjoyed the environment, the experience, talking to the guys that were there. And so that was my path.
Right. What would you say is essentially the difference between hairdressing and barbering?
Male and female. Male is barbering, heavily focused on men. We do have women who come in, get short haircuts or undercuts, but with hairdressing, it's mainly women's. Men may come in for colors or long haircuts and stuff like that.
Yeah. So does barbering not involve color at all?
Yeah, it does. Definitely, we do bleaches. A lot of guys come into our salons and get their hair from brown to bleach white, especially in summer.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So what's trending in barbering now?
At the moment, it's been around for a little bit, but definitely in Australia, mullets. And it's become a global thing where generally Australia will focus on the trends of UK and Italy and Spain and countries like that. Whereas we have, been doing mullets for the last 30, 40, 50 years.
Yeah.
So what we've done is modernize the mullet with a lot of good modern clipper work techniques that make it look very fresh, and a lot of, disco at the back texture and stuff. So that's probably the biggest thing at the moment, especially in India, with the cricket players, a lot of them, having mullets and fades with the mullets. So definitely that.
So Australians have like a grip on mullets.
We revolutionized it for sure.
Right. What about beard? Is there anything particular that people are going for?
I think with beards, there's nothing in terms of particularly they're going for, but it's more so the professional side of the barber or hairdresser to make sure it suits their face shape. So everybody who has different face shapes should have a different beard to suit their face shape, whether they have a wider face and you want to take it a bit tighter to make it look slimmer, or they got maybe a more gaunt face and they need more fullness to fill it out. So yeah.
Right. So it's high time and stop complaining about women applying makeup because now you have beard.
I think men are just as naggy with their looks now.
Yes, I'm more aware.
Of course.
And yeah, that's definitely a blessing. Yeah. So in terms of, are you a big fan of hair tattoos?
Hair tattoos?
Yeah.
As in hair art?
Yes, hair art.
Yeah, definitely. In Australia, you don't see many people walking around with hair art. Aiden, who's with us, he's very, very good at hair art, and there's a few guys who are doing it for photographic collections and stuff like that. But more so the kids who come in, they want hair art, so it's a fun experience because it's stuff they'll remember forever. And they'll probably grow up and say, Mum, why did you let me do that?
Right. So you excelled at barbering and then you moved on into education and training. So why was this move? What drew you to education?
Look, for me, it's something that I was almost thrown into by, some people just to try it.
Yeah.
I never thought I would do it. And as soon as I got on the stage for the first time, I just felt myself. Mm-hmm. I knew it was for me, So from then, I just continued to do more expos and more education classes, seminars. Now more so I do more mentoring. So I mentor a lot of business owners and people who are looking to become an educator themselves. So I followed a good path with the education side of things. And we've started our academy in Australia, and we're launching our academy this week in Hyderabad. So yeah, education for me is a big thing. I love giving back. So for me, when I was younger, I had certain people around me that would show me things, but never really put effort and time into helping me get better.
Right.
You know, so I did a lot of out of hours stuff with friends and learnt the craft as good as I could. And then when I felt I was ready to express what I'd learnt to the world, that's when I moved into that space.
Right. Do you have like a set curriculum at your academy for beginners and advanced?
So we focus mainly in Australia, we focus mainly on intermediate to experienced.
Yeah.
Just so that the guys who are at my education team, they can relate a lot more to the people who come in.
Right.
You know, we're very fortunate. Our brand is become very well known in Australia, and we attract very good staff. So we don't have staff who have the time to focus on beginners courses. But my business partner, who has a TAFE, which is a college there, they focus on the beginners. So we send everyone that wants to begin to the college.
Right. How did your collaboration with Gamma Plus come into being?
I was with Andis for 6 years.
Yeah.
And I'd done a lot of tours, Russia, India, UK, stuff like that. And then I wanted to focus on business side of things along with my father. And then I thought I'll give it a break for a bit. And I went to one of the first Gamma show in Melbourne. Just attended to have a look with Dad and met Carmelo, who's he looks after all of Australia and India as well. And we had a chat, and then I finished up with Andis, and Carmelo sent me a message, can I send you some clippers? For me, the main reason behind being associated with any brand is not really about the people, it's about the quality of the tools. So for me, as soon as I tried the tools, straight away I was in. And I called Carmelo, we sat down and we kind of made a path and a plan for Australia. And I was doing business in India, and I said, why don't you have a look at India?
Yeah.
And here we are.
Speaking of India, now that you have an academy here and you've been here quite a few times, how do you perceive an Indian barber? Where does he stand now on the global map?
I think I have a lot of associates and friends here who are barbers, hairdressers. I'd say 90% of them are hairdressers moving into the barber space. So what I think is happening is barbering is starting to revolutionize here in India.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a very exciting prospect for our industry, especially with what we're doing with our academy, with our tools and stuff like that. But the biggest thing I'll say about barbers in India is the passion and how they express their want to get better.
Right.
You know, and this is why I'm very excited opening our first major academy here and seeing, you know, what's going to happen from there.
Did you get any sort of resistance from the barbering community, because India has certain culture and emotional baggage around barbering? So when you usher people into education for barbering, was there any resistance from barbers?
I think
for aspiring people, like they don't want to do barbering, they want to do hairdressing.
To be honest, every show that I've ran, I've done many tours in India, and we've had packed out rooms, you know, and they're so passionate and so excited and eager to learn. So for me, I've never seen resistance. I do know culturally that, you know, there's the resistance, but we're moving. I think, like I said, India is revolutionizing in that space. India is revolutionized in a lot of other spaces. But for me, I think that barbering is in the next 5 years, it will be very, very looked up to here.
Did you see a bit of that revolution at the Modern Barber competition?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I saw the skills that I saw, the talent that I saw, and I said to some of the team members and business associates, I said, I've not seen this particular skill set so high quality in the last 7 years I've been coming here.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's very promising.
Yeah, definitely.
What about female barbers?
So in Australia, we have about 6 female barbers that work for us.
Okay.
And they're booked out all the time, you know. So again, it's a culture thing here. It will take time for people to accept it and understand that, you know, female and male, no matter the gender, it's the skill set with the hands. You know, when most people say, well, a lady's never had a fade or clipper work on their head, how do they know what it feels like?
Yeah.
You don't need to. It's a visual art. You need to see what you're doing, understand the techniques, same as any other trade and any other profession. We have to learn it, master it, and give our service.
Right. What advice would you give to aspiring barbers?
I would say get yourself out there as much as you can. Get to every event, get to every education event you can. The more you learn, the more you're going to put into practice, and which is going to help you achieve, whatever pathway you take at an easier way.
Right. What are your plans for yourself in 2025?
We've got quite a few projects happening.
Yeah.
We've got 4 salons in Australia. We're opening up the 3rd one here in India, Salon. And the exciting part about our salons here, it's a franchise model. So we've done TBC salons in India, and we've got a couple of those lined up shortly to open. Many other businesses that we're doing, product companies, things like that. So for me, I just look, every week there's something comes up. The ideas come into the brain, and it's which one is the right one to bring into fruition, into reality, and which are the right people to work with within the projects. And that's for me the best part about what I do, is the networking side of it, meeting people and seeing what comes out of it.
So you mentioned that you saw a real good talent at the Modern Barber competition. So you think it is important for barbers and hairdressers to engage more in competitions?
Absolutely.
Yeah, how does that help?
Well, at the end of the day, you're putting yourself in a situation that you need to expose what you do.
Yeah.
Right? And I tell everybody, if you want to be anyone in the industry or anyone in life, you need to have eyes on you. That's how you get seen. You network and you do competitions and you meet people. You might not win, but you've tried.
Yeah.
It's better than not doing it at all. And then 10, 15 years down the track, why didn't I do it? Why didn't I have a go? So I tell everybody, risk it, have a go. There's absolutely nothing that will go wrong by competing in a competition or putting yourself on the stage or just putting yourself out there.
Right. One final question. What is that one thing that you think is lacking in Indian barbers, which they should be working on?
For me, it's about the tools.
Okay.
I think it's super imperative to invest in good quality tools. Like I mentioned earlier, in between brands, I'm very loyal with my brands. I spent 6 years with Andis, and when I actually tried Gamma clippers, the haircuts were easier to do because the quality of the tools make the haircut 10 times more easier, and it's a lot of the time there's the cliche saying, it doesn't matter about the tools, it matters about the person doing the craft. Well, in our industry, that's not the case, and I've seen that with staff, I've seen that in courses that I've run, and I've seen the tools people use, and I go, you can't do a quality haircut with a clipper that doesn't work well, So for me, definitely it's about the tools.
All right. Thank you so much for answering my questions, Jordan, and joining me for Spotlight. It was great having you.
Thank you for having me.
That was Jordan on PBI Spotlight. This is Kanishka signing off. Stay tuned for more artists.